your boy Tone, coming to you out of Lexington, Kentucky. Anywhere in Kentucky, you probably find me around here. Did 10 years in TV, got a good background on sports and other information, and maybe not such of a good life, but I'm working on it. Fellas, introduce yourselves.
Shaw, you go first, big dog.
Jamil Shaw, coming to you from Alexandria, Virginia. Played at Ohio University and been coaching for the past 5 years. 2 state title appearances.
Ooh, not one, but two.
Two per.
Okay.
And you know, it's your boy CG, the one and only. Where do I start? You know, your boy played college football, was a freshman All-American, had a short stint with the Buccaneers as a free agent, played 4.5 years in the CFL, won a Grey Cup. I started my business in 2013 where I work with athletes and trying to help them get to the next level. And I also do a lot of fat loss clients also. And, you know, I have a background in a little bit of journalism, but not as much as my man Tone. But at the same time, like, you know, I love to talk sports, love to talk about just life in general. And, you know, I feel like this podcast is the right place to be.
Word up, word up. Well, we talked about a little things before the show. Anything you want to start off with, man? There's a lot in the news right now, a whole lot going on, and a lot of stuff that everybody's talking about.
The biggest thing right now, I mean, it's not the biggest thing, but what was kind of fresh was the Ben Simmons thing. I mean, I don't know about y'all take on it, but, you know, just, you know, being a ex-professional athlete, I understand both sides that, you know, it's politics and it's business to the game, but how you carry yourself, you know, shows the utmost professionalism, whether you're a young player or not. And the whole situation is crazy. You know, little stuff is leaking out, but, you know, I just want to know how y'all, you know, if y'all have seen it, or how do y'all feel about that whole situation with Ben Simmons in Philly?
And like, I don't know, I saw a little bit of it yesterday, and I seen a man came with his phone in his pocket, and like he was really remind me of back when Brandon Marshall was with the Broncos, and the video of him just slapping the ball down. That's what it reminded me. He was wilding, and you know, I don't know. I feel him, like you're saying, because he doesn't want to be there anymore. He's there to not get fined. Like, he's there to make sure that he gets his money. But at the same time, like I feel like he could be messing up his next situation. Although it's Ben Simmons, you know, I don't know. It's tricky because Ben Simmons is talented enough to where he could do it and he could get away with it. But average Joe, that'll be the career. You know?
Yep.
My take on it is, all right, you know, you're a professional, for one. You're an athlete, for two. That means you do this for a living. You play ball for your money, right? So they fined him $1.4 million for missing the preseason. They're gonna fine him another, I think, couple $100,000 or a little more than $100,000 for getting kicked out of practice.
Right.
And then they're gonna fine him. He's going to lose $227,000 for being suspended for the first game of the year. I don't care what the situation is. Your best ability is availability. And as Shaw said, you're gonna mess up your next situation, bro. You're not James Harden, little baby. You not. James could want to do because everybody knows what James can do. I've watched Ben Simmons for a few years. He played in the SEC. Even his 1 year at LSU.
He did the same thing. He did the same thing at LSU.
The boy can't shoot. He's never been able to shoot. And now you not giving nobody film of the new you to look at you and evaluate you to see why we should pay you good money to come to us and rescue you from a situation that you can't handle as a professional. So in my mind, it's a bad look all the way around. I don't know that he could have valid reasons. He might not like Doc. He might not like Embiid. It might be some behind the scenes, whatever. But if you are auditioning for your next opportunity, you should always put your best foot forward. In my mind,
facts,
and not leave money on the table.
Yeah, because Embiid came out talking crazy today.
He did, yeah. Well, honestly, Shaw, like you can't say he was talking crazy because you gotta realize, like they're all grown men, and at some point, like they're all there to do a job, and like you the only one that's not helping with the group project. As a matter of fact, you being more of a distraction, and like basketball is starting this week. You know what I'm saying? So I understand it because before, if you look at some of his comments, like he was kind of like, everything's gonna be all right. Ben Simmons is gonna be who he is. Like when he come back, we're gonna welcome him with open arms. Now it's like, bro, like we tired of that, bro. Like at the same time, sometimes, bro, well not sometimes, like as a man, like you gotta learn to mature. And then on top of that, when you got M's or you got them commas sitting on the table and you acting like, like whatever. Cause I guarantee you in the next 10 years, you're gonna realize like, damn, I wish I would have.
Right.
And I think that's an important point, CG. A lot of young players, and you can speak to this as professional. Shaw, you could probably speak to this as well. I think when you're younger and maybe where your ceiling is or where you feel like your ceiling is for your marketability, for your earnability, all that type of stuff, you feel like you got all the time in the world to make all this money.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, that window is probably shorter than what anybody may envision it to be at any given time. And so I just kind of look at it like you're ruining your market value for one, and you're not overly skilled. Like, I mean, I feel like if this was Lonzo Ball in the same situation, it would be a little different. Would still be willing to take a chance on you because we know for sure that you can hoop. We know if we bring you in here, you're going to be a good fit for us. The locker room maybe remain to be seen, but you're going to come in here, you're going to give us buckets, you're going to work hard, etc. And if you punking out on your own team, it's almost like going to a job interview and talking bad about your last job.
Right. If
you did that to them, you come in my office and you say, it was so terrible over, I couldn't stand it, I hated it, yada. You're going to talk about them like that. Guess what? When you go somewhere else, you're going to talk about us like this is, you're showing us who you are, even if that's not who you are.
Yeah.
So I hope for the best. I'm not even a Philly fan. Like, personally, like, East Cats is bums every year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they trust the process. Well, it's been, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I hate that every time they feel like they got an answer, somebody sweep the rug out from under them. It's always something with Philly, seemingly.
Yeah, Ben, like, I don't know. I'm pretty interested to see how it play out. Like, he definitely can't play there. Like, it's no way.
That bridge.
After what he did through practice. And so now it's like, okay, so where are you going to go? And what is Philly, what are they going to take back for him? Like, Ben Simmons, all that being said, he's still a number one pick, and he's still making $30 million a year. Mm-hmm. So Philly not letting him go for
peanuts.
Oh, for peanuts, man.
So guess what? I'm gonna cut you off, Shaw, but just like you say, like he's a number one overall pick, right? And like they paying him mad money, right? You gotta realize if I give you money, and this is just the professional way of getting my money back, right? I pay you money. I can't go out there and say like, hey, I want all my money back. It's like, you know something? You sign a contract. On that fine line says if you don't report to practice or if you don't talk to media or if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to fine you. So you can, you know something? I gave you that money, but guess what? I'm going to get it back somehow. So if you don't play, it's almost like for them, it's like, okay, cool.
It's almost easier for them to manage.
Right. So it's like.
But that's what I'm saying, though. He's doing everything he can so they can't do that. Like him showing up to practice and acting like that, you can't. Technically, he's adhering to his contract. He showed up and he's at practice. Now, what he does at practice is a different thing. Like you said, he got kicked out of practice, so now we can fine him. we can find him all we want, but if that contract is still binding as long as he shows up. So
that's the thing. Go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say, I think a workaround for that, Shaw, because that's a really good point. Like, as long as he's honoring his contract, you really can't find him. You really can only dock him so much. But that conduct detrimental, that is a wide umbrella. That conduct detrimental to the team. I mean, y'all play ball. Y'all seen people get kicked off teams and cut and released and everything else for all type of things that fall under that umbrella. And so if he's smart, I would say, you know, if you don't want to risk injury before a trade, because we saw that with James Harden, like if you're going to force a trade and you're going to not play. We saw that with James Harden. We saw that to a degree with Iguodala last season. You know, there's a way to do anything you want to do, is what I would say. So don't open yourself up to lose more money or to higher consequences.
Right. You know? Only with that is, like, you got to have leverage. Like, you can't be an ugly chick talking about, like, I want a top tier man, but at the same time, like, the biggest thing is, we all go by looks. So this is just an analogy. You can't be ugly asking for the best looking person. Like, you got to take what you can get. So in this case, I think he's he's overpaid for what his limit. Like, he's limited in his abilities. But the thing is, like, he has potential, but it's almost like he's too immature to take criticism and be like, you know something? Because I tell you this, you know, God rest his dead, Kobe Bryant, he said about a couple players, especially with Ben Simmons, he's like, he'll never win a championship because he can't shoot. So at the end of the day, it's like every player in any sport at every level, if you work on your craft or if you're working on stuff that you're not good at, then now you create leverage with your game. But if you're not working on your game, it's almost like, okay, go ahead, do what you want to do, but eventually you're gonna come back to me because you don't have much to offer to anybody else. That's why nobody ain't take that trade.
Right. And you've had a couple summers to work on your game now. It's not like you're fresh out of college. The game's too big for you, you know. But at this point, once again, after a couple years as a pro, man, that slows down for you. You get the system. You know the schemes. You've read the scouting reports. You know the arenas. Like, there shouldn't be any blind spots in your game after 2 or 3 years as a pro.
If you're taking it seriously. Go ahead, Sean.
In the way I look at it, his max out up to me is he's a role player. So if we put Ben Simmons on the Nets or we put Ben Simmons with the Warriors, surrounded with a whole bunch of guys that can shoot, he's gonna look like a superstar. He plays good defense, see the floor well, he runs well, he's 6'10". But he's in Philly where they need him to be a superstar. They need him to be the number 2. They need him to be. He don't got it. He need to have it. And
they had him at point guard too. Remember that they had him at point guard.
Yeah. So, and we'll see. And
he's the same out of college.
I was just going to say there's a parallel to that, to me, with the Knicks and the Julius Randle situation.
Julius, I'm a Knicks fan, so go ahead.
One guy can't do it all, even if you need him to.
Right.
And Randle is deficient in the ways that Ben Simmons is in terms of their offense. But once again, it's too much of a workload. If you don't have if Ben Simmons is a 1B star, if Julius Randle is a 1B star, who's your 1A? Because you can't run everything with Embiid. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, and having him at the point, you can't put him at the 2 because he can't shoot. But he's not necessarily a creator of a point guard. We've seen big point guards that can handle, distribute, draw a double, and kick. You know what I'm saying? Draw a double, pump fake, and one. You know, or at least draw a foul. We've seen big guards that are athletic enough to pull that off. And Ben Simmons isn't that guy. It's just not in his game. And after year, 2 or 3, you have to wonder if it's ever going to be in his game. You know?
I don't think so.
And like you said, God rest his dead, Kobe ain't here because Kobe would mentor your ass. Like, Kobe would, if you're going to meet Kobe at 4 in the morning in the gym, Kobe will work with you. But you got to want it, and you got to want to put in the work. And some guys, and y'all know this too, it's just like professional golf. And some guys don't want to be number 1 every week. Some guys is happy to finish top 10 in the tournament. I collect my little $500,000. I see y'all next week.
Right. So what you saying, bro?
Say, would Ben Simmons be that guy to beat Kobe at 4:00 in the morning?
Nah. He too busy hanging out with Kylie Jenner, bro. Nah.
Exactly.
So honestly, bro, like the best of Ben Simmons that we've seen is probably the best he gonna get. Like, not saying he gonna decline, but it's almost like you know what you're gonna get with him. Like, if you expect for him to work on his jump shot, he had years to do it. I tell you this, and people will make fun of Ante the Cupo.
It's like
he's trying.
Pause. Huh? He wet this year though. Like, how you come off a championship season, son? Reinvent your whole jumper and come out soaking. And you had less of a turnaround time than anybody in the league because you played to the very end of the season.
It's called maturity. That's it. He understand. It's gonna get a point where he just can't blow by people in Eurostep. Eventually, every good player evolve their game, and you can go online. Right.
You can bang on everybody your whole career. You can't just slash through the lane and hey man, you gotta hit that shimmy and dream shake. And so to see him as good as he is, and it's early, right? It's a small sample size.
Right.
But golly, man. Golly.
Anything else on this topic, Shaw?
I'm good. Yes.
Go ahead, Tone. You the narrator, bro.
All right. Well, we'll keep it with NBA. We've had a lot of NBA news heading into the preseason. A lot of storylines. One of the most talked about has been Kyrie Irving with the Brooklyn Nets. We have the vaccine mandate in the state of New York. Obviously, for those who don't know, he's refused the vaccine, refused to be vaccinated, at least to our knowledge, and has missed a number of team activities along the way through the preseason and has been ruled out basically until he gets vaccinated. He stands to lose a lot of money, and he stands to let down several teammates with championship aspirations. Now, fellas, what do you think?
So, first of all, I'm assistant director at a hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in this area. Same thing goes there. They mandated the vaccine. They basically said you got till this day to get vaccinated, and if you don't have a job. So, bringing it back to Kyrie Irving, he's basically taking the stance that I don't care, I'm not getting it. That's his personal choice. I don't really have much to say about his personal choice. It's his body, but he's saying that he's doing it for the people, right? But most of the people that he's doing it for can't afford to quit their job.
Facts.
If Kyrie don't never dribble a basketball again, he's straight.
Yeah.
Him saying that he's doing it for the voice, he's being the voice for the voiceless. Those voiceless people you talking about, they can't afford to not get the vaccine, boss. So, like I said, I get it, but from a teammate standpoint, I know KD and James Harden, I don't care what they like, damn, we put this together because this is what we're trying to do. And this not the first time that Kyrie done bammed out on him. Like he did it last year, randomly. He do it a lot. And so I think that when it comes to Kyrie specifically, he's always in some stuff like that. Like this man couldn't play with LeBron. Like Kyrie, different. He's a different cat.
I got like 3 levels on this one. I'll be brief. I promise you.
Go ahead.
You're a voice for the voiceless, right? The voice for the unvaccinated. My body, my choice, right? They got voices. We hear them on social media all the time. Everybody complaining about getting vaccinated and I don't know what's in it and I'm going to do my own research and yada, yada. Man, look, okay, whatever. The same people, the same voiceless, right? And there might be some minorities. There might be some black folks that have some vaccine hesitancy due to historical reasons that we don't need to explain today. Look it up. But the majority, I feel, in my own opinion, are, how do I say this politely, poor uneducated white people, Trump supporters, who have been against the vaccine, even though President Trump got the vaccine. So to me, you're speaking out for people who don't need you to speak for them. And you're speaking out for people who are losing their jobs because they don't want to get a vaccine by losing your job because you don't want to get a vaccine. Make that make sense. That's level one. Level two, you went to do.
Right. You a smart nigga. Yeah.
You how you get in? If this is your train of thought, how you went to one of the most prestigious research universities in the country. Now you was only there for a year. You didn't really hoop that long because you messed up your foot. But how you look? You only had to take classes for one semester, but you had to learn something. If you're gonna go pro, you don't have to take that second semester of classes. You just gotta take first semester to be eligible. But you had to learn something. So that's number two. And then the third thing for me is your dogs, man, your teammate. You recruited KG. You helped get and advocate for Harden to come. Y'all had a close call last year. And KD maybe wasn't fully 100% coming off the Achilles and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So now y'all should be fully loaded, ready to knock everything down. And here you go. Not only are you messing with your money, because he stands to lose a significant amount of money, we're not going to let you halftime play, right? We're not going to let you play on the road and not play at home. Like, you just ain't going to play at all. And fair is fair. You're not going to risk the lives of your trainers, the support staff, the coaches, everybody, family. Fair is fair. So you stand to lose how much money? But you messing with my money now, because let's say I underperformed this season because you ain't here based on what you sold me. What's my market value if I want to bounce? And then what about the role players who, hey, if I could say I'm part of a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, I might be on the chopping block at the end of this season. If we overachieve, then I might could stay here.
Right.
And that's the difference between getting re-signed, being a desirable free agent, or just being a free agent. So those are the three layers for me. I don't get it. We all got the shot. You might as well get it. We all still here. It seems like a low risk. It seems like a high risk decision for something that should be a no-brainer.
You mean low risk
more than you do the game?
Low risk or high risk, you mean?
Well, the risk of what you need to do is low.
Got you.
Well, you are risking a lot for something that is very simple, right, and a lot of other people outside of you have done.
Okay. Well, my take on,
I'm saying, I don't know. He went to school at some point when he was a youngin', so it ain't like he never got a shot before.
But it wasn't his choice. That's the thing. Because how things are nowadays, everybody's sensitive to everything. People getting canceled left and right for whatever may be the case. So now it's like, if the unheard, whether you are a multimillionaire or just regular Joe Schmo, now it's almost like, everybody's voice has a meaning to it, to an extent, So it's like, with the whole Kyrie situation, I'm not on either side. I can agree or disagree a lot of stuff he's doing, but for him to take that stand for what he's standing for, unvaccinated or the world is flat or whatever may be the case, kudos to him, because at the end of the day, it's like, just how they say, common sense is common. It ain't common. So,
it is not a flower that grows in everybody's garden.
Right. So I think it's like, he should follow suit and just take the vaccine, because just like Shaw said, it ain't like this is first it ain't like this is first shot. So at the end of the day, it's like, bro, take the shot, and so that you can do what God put you on earth to do. That's one point of it. But the other side of it also, we don't know what he's personally going through. He could be personally scared to take the shot, because what if if it ain't broke, why fix it type thing. So his mentality is different. but understanding, he's at the height of his career and like he's got a real good chance of making a run at the finals because he's got KD, Harden, and the bench actually looks pretty good. So it's like, why would he sacrifice a chance to actually win without LeBron so that he can put himself, out there as like, where he wanted to be put it, like as one of the best players, not just guards, but players. So it's like you can right. But you can dive deeper into it. It's like we all have our point of views. Just how if like you say you like, peanut and butter jelly sandwiches, or Shaw say he like his steaks, raw or something like that. I can't be like, well, I can have my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's like you choose what you want to do, no matter the platform. It just honestly, bro, it just sucks because there's so much invested in Kyrie being in Brooklyn. And the thing is, like, he has leverage because of his ability. So everyone know he can play. Now, the thing is, like, we go back to the whole Ben Simmons things. Like, Ben Simmons can't pull a Kyrie because Kyrie can go in there and give you 30, 10, and, like, 8. Easy.
And make you look silly on the way.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, it's like he takes more of a political stance, and people don't want him to do that because he has a platform to play a sport to kind of entertain us. So when he kind of take away from that, now people that agreed with him with other stances that he took, now that it's more, it's more about the vaccine that regular people are taking and they're going on and living their lives. And then just how Tone was saying that you got guys or people that don't want to take it and that only make $50,000 a year, and then after taxes you only make like $20,000. So it's like you're missing out on that little bit when he ain't gotta play ever again, and he's great. So I can see both sides. That's why whenever I see something, I'm not quick to judge because at the end of the day, it's like we don't know what he's going through or what's going on.
Well, the one thing I would say, and not necessarily a counterpoint, right? Kind of one of my original points, something I thought of while y'all were speaking. These so-called voiceless people. The same voiceless people that he's speaking up for were opposing his stance when Black Lives Mattered to Black people.
Yeah.
Right? When Black lives were real important to a lot of people, and to varying degrees, not as important to other people, right? That we haven't heard as much about that in the last how many months. The same people, the same voiceless people that you are now standing up for was the same ones telling you to shut up and dribble when you were standing up for something else. So why are you going to take it on you to represent them? You could simply say, I don't want to get it. Every day we all stand on our own 2 feet. You could just say, I don't want to get it.
But nowadays, Tony, you got to remember, everybody, for the most part, people want to be martyrs. So it's like people want to be remembered for something in history. So we look back because things like this, people weren't doing stuff like this. I mean, some of it was like behind the scenes or it wasn't as put on the news. The first person, in our generation to actually make headlines and waves was Kaepernick. So the thing is, like, if Kaepernick never would have did what he did, would Kyrie do what he's doing now?
Hard to say.
But that's.
And then if you look at the gap between athletes and activism, you had John Carlos and I forget the other gentleman's name at the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? And then you had Ali, and Kareem was outspoken, but he wasn't crucified. And you had Bill Russell, who was part of the integration. So his experiences led to his viewpoint in a way that you can't tell me what I'm saying ain't true. You could disagree, but everything wasn't so hot button because everybody knew alive at the time what it was. So I think now we're full of hot takes. Everybody got to be right. F your opinion. And we all do our own research. You know what I'm saying? So nothing anybody does for any reason that they stand on for, at a certain point, it's not going to make sense to somebody else who just doesn't agree with you. And once again, man, you are one of a very few people, a very selective club with a long lineage of high athletic feats. Not only do you run the risk of running yourself out of that club, but you leaving these people's money on the table. Thanks. And the people paying you this money don't look like us. If BLM matter, if Black Lives Matter, hey, go do it. Do it for the cause. Take that money and trick it off. Donate it if you don't want the money. So there's a little bit of all. I can see both sides of it, but I don't see how you could care more about one thing than the other. You walk around saging arenas because you so sensitive, but now you can't stand people talking about you. You can't go to a press conference and explain yourself.
Hey, tell them, but you gotta remember this too. And like, you can take how you want to, but it's always a circus within the circus. Meaning that, like, it's entertainment, but it's like you gotta realize athletes, and this is speaking from personal experience. Being a professional athlete or playing, and like Shaw, he'll tell you too, playing Division I football, you get put on a pedestal. So it's almost like anything you do can move the needle. So imagine if like you bored, or if you really believe in something, or if you don't, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're like, shit, I want to generate some more, whether it's income or I want to generate a buzz about my name, whether it's because like they said, all attention is good attention. Yeah. So it's like, when it's bad, well, obviously if it's bad, then it's gonna be even more. Like you said, nowadays it's more hot takes. So what if, and this is hypothetically speaking, what if Kyrie is sitting watching TV and is saying like, damn, look at these look at these dudes, like I'm just
playing with people, playing the game.
Yeah, it's like I respect what he's doing if he stands on it. So,
right.
Up Muhammad Ali, you brought up Bill Russell, Jim Brown, all these guys, Colin Kaepernick, all of those guys. They cause was their cause. No matter what anybody said about their cause, they stood on it and they was willing to throw away everything behind it. So if that's Kyrie and that's his situation and he's taking his hard stance and he sticks with it, we can't do nothing but respect him, because like, we can feel how we want to feel about it, and we could disagree with him, but who's to say we can't tell him to shut up and dribble about this topic, and then when there's something else, all of a sudden say, oh no, he needs the right to speak out. So we just gotta let him. Hey, if that's the hill he's willing to stand on, and that's the ledge you want to stand on down that hill, then you gotta give it to him. But it is, like I said, I know KD and James Harden, and if you're a Nets fan, you might be a little disappointed, but
don't let me catch that nigga in the streets. I'll just play. All right. Well, I think we talked significantly enough about that. Just looking at our time, we on time. You know, from one potentially racially charged issue to another highly talked about racially charged issue recently in the news. Gentlemen, what are the thoughts on John Gruden and the emails that have come out recently? For those who do not know, emails over a course of years were revealed where he said negative things racially about DeMaurice Smith, who was the director of the NFLPA, if I have that right, sent nude images of Washington football cheerleaders to Dan Snyder, if I have that right. If not Dan Snyder, the actual owner, whoever is currently in the ownership. Don't give me the line. And also said misogynistic and sexist things about female officials, which has been, a newly integrated thing in the league within the last 3-4 years, 2 or 3 years. He's out. The Raiders still owe him a buttload of money. I mean, $100 million over 10 years. What are your thoughts?
So look, this is my take on it. For one, and this is, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but my thing is like, that's a classic example of be careful who you tell stuff to. Be careful who you write emails or text stuff to, because just because you delete it doesn't mean that it's gone forever. You know, because anybody can be willing to hold on to something that you thought that you confided in them with, or you did something with them, and now the upper hand be like, hey, you know, I don't like how you are presenting yourself, so now I'm a leak this out there. That's just one. My second one is basically, you know, I think the NFL did a good job of just getting him out of there, because, you know, some of the stuff that he said was, you know, whether it was years ago or not, like he still, I personally, if you say it once and you're saying it in like behind closed doors, behind, you know what I'm saying? That's how you really feel. So imagine on, like, the first thing I thought about was when he got rid of Khalil Mack, and I'm thinking to myself like, and then now I'm starting to think of other little instances. Like, I wonder, was that? I mean, it could have been race related, or it could have been like an evil thing. Like, now this is my team type thing. But you know, the whole situation with him was kind of just foul, and I feel like things could have been a little bit different, a little more harsh. But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta understand, you know, the melanin or the lack of the melanin situation, how people are just dealt with. So, like John Gruden, I feel like he shouldn't, honestly, like, he shouldn't be paid. He should honestly just kind of just go away, and wherever, like, however he deal with it, he do it, because he's been in the spotlight for too long and given a lot of opportunities. When you got, again, like guys like Kaepernick, who stood for stuff, like stuff that he kind of, you can tell that maybe he stood for it, but it's almost in the same arena type thing. So it's kind of crazy to see all that stuff come out now. But to me, honestly, like, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, man, I knew it was something wrong with that dude. It's just something with him. But that's just honestly, bro, like how everything kind of like happened. It was like, oh wow. And then to hear some of the stuff that he said, it's like, damn. And the thing about it is, like, guys that was in position at the time could have been like, hey, bro, like,
Right.
but it's years. They had over 500 emails of them doing that stuff. So that shit crazy to me.
So, I got a lot. So, I'm originally from out Oakland. Grew up Raiders fan, born and raised. So, you know, I was paying very close attention to the whole story. To me, what I took away from it is, one, it's a way bigger problem, and he's not the only one. So we sit down and break this down. He sent these emails. He was working on Monday Night Football for ESPN. Damn near the face of the NFL. That's the biggest night for football in America.
Mm-hmm.
Monday Night Football is a huge event. So he was comfortable enough to send that, not to this man's cell phone, not to a personal email, but to his NFL accredited organized email account. And it wasn't just
That's bold.
there. It was an email chain with him, Bruce Allen, and a whole bunch of other big time business owners in Florida and just through all over the country. So the fact that this is the way that they're talking about the backs of their players, co-workers, whoever else that it is that they in, that's astounding me, but it's not surprising. Like, what else do you expect? These owners and most of these coaches are 60, 70-year-old white men, which means that they raised them in that time where that's what it was, and that's exactly how they feel about black people. Like, for him to be talking about a black man lip, right? Like, that's old school stuff. Like, that's not even how people is racist nowadays. Like, people,
that's not even a new school joke.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's some old school stuff. And so that really struck me. And then another thing that struck me was when those emails came out about him talking about Peter's lips. That wasn't what got him out of there. He coached that Sunday. He didn't get fired until all the stuff about the LGBT community came out and all that stuff. So that's what struck the nerve. It wasn't about him talking about black people. It has nothing to do with him being racist. It's the fact that he said women and he said something about the LGBT community. And that is the one thing days that'll get you out of here fast, because everybody has somebody that might be gay in their family. But these white people don't have black men in their family, so they don't care. So that's what gets you out there. And him getting fired and them still having to pay him, yeah, they still have to pay him, but he had to be the one to take the fall, because that email chain was with a whole bunch of people that are a whole lot of money. So we look at it, Roger Goodell, he works for all the owners. He's the commissioner of the NFL. He makes about $40 million a year, right? So imagine what the owners are making. They're paying Gruden $100 million for years. So whoever is the brokest, you got to take the fall. So hey, go sit down. We'll give you your $10 million, but you can't be here no more, and we get you out the way. This will quiet down. And as you see, you didn't hear nothing else about. That's a whole federal investigation. There was over 65,000 emails, and they only got emails like that off of one dude. No, I don't believe it. There's more people, but like I said, they made him the fall. Got that out the way, and now hey, it's take the attention off of it. Yeah, that's my take on that. But it's not.
All very valid points. All very valid points. And not to play devil's advocate, right? But and first of all, thanks for the correction. It was Bruce Allen and not Dan Snyder. We're not going to mix up people's names and be factually inaccurate. It was Bruce Allen. One, Dave Chappelle made a joke about something very similar not very long ago, involving the baby in the stand-up, and it was controversial in its own way. But to your point, it's something that we see time and time again to be true in certain ways at different times. The other thing, to play just a bit of devil's advocate, right? If I cook once, does that make me a chef? If I cheat once, does that make me a cheater? I think it depends on what you're doing. If you cook once, we ain't gonna consider you no chef, baby. Made a meal. If you cheat once, then that's in your mental makeup. Like that's a decision you made. You might be predisposed to try and do what you can get away with. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that in this situation with John Gruden. And I think the thing to me that I'm most sensitive to, because I'm a black man in America, no shade to nobody else, all these issues are equally as important. The one that sticks out to me is just the racism to a black man in a position of power, while you are hired to lead a group of black men in a league that is what, 85, 90% African American? So the thing that sticks out to me is, if this is who you've always been, if this is who you are, right, and this good of a job, hired, wasn't on the Madden game. I mean, he's done a little bit of everything, right? Y'all remember the episode of MTV Cribs when Trick Daddy vouched for him and had the Chucky doll hanging in the back of the Caprice in the Tampa Bay days. Black people loved you, man.
Right, yeah.
So if this has been who you are for this entire time, you did a good job of hiding it, but just the lack of awareness, right? The lack of awareness, I think, sticks out to me and reminds me a lot of Donald Sterling and the Clippers and that whole saga. And CG, when you were saying he should just go away, we ain't heard nothing about Donald Sterling. Just go sit down, baby. Just go sit. You gonna get your money.
Right.
They sold the team. You gonna get your money. Take your money. There's islands out here all over. Buy you one. Go sit down. Have a seat. Like, I don't have nothing real complicated to say about it, because I think y'all said it way better than I could. But just with it being such a hot button topic, you know, how could you be so foolish in a league that is only successful through the labor of mostly minorities to get caught slipping so bad, little baby? You messed up the church's money. You know, and that's my mad. You know, hey, it's unfortunate all the way around. And the other thing is, to Shaw's point, I saw a headline today. I didn't get to read the article. I think it was in the New York Times talking about what will the fallout be if more of these emails come out. Who was agreeing with who when they said what? And will we ever get to see them? Because it is under a federal investigation, so they're not obligated to pass this stuff out. Especially if it's criminal and indictments could come. It's almost better to keep it under wraps. But I'm curious to see what the fallout from this could be potentially. So
honestly, bro, like we're not gonna see what we want to see. I think what we saw is what we're gonna see. And everything else is going to be speculation.
Yep.
And one more thing to add, right? The Raiders now have a coaching vacancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eric Bieniemy. Get Eric Bieniemy in that spot from Kansas City. Get him. He was in coaching talks when there was vacancies. And during the playoffs last year, he said the focus should be on his team and not on me and not where I'm going to go. But a lot of people were advocating for him to have a head coaching position and felt like he was capable as a head coach. Now, you got this whole raggedy incident involved with racism, misogynistic behavior, and everything else. The Rooney Rule needs to be the Rooney Rule. Put a black man in that seat. What's the happen? What's going to happen? Go where he win. John Gruden didn't win.
See, but don't put him in that seat and set him up just because you want a black face right there.
True.
That happens too much. We see it too many times. We see it every year. They hire a black coach real quick, and they know the team ain't gonna be worth nothing, and they blame it all on the black coach, and he's out of there in 3 years. Like if you gonna give that man a chance, man, give him a chance and hire a GM that's gonna work with him and get the players that he want to get in there and let him really do his thing. So we'll see.
Very good point. We touched on Kyrie with the vaccination. Staying with football, similar news. We don't have to take long on it. I think we've all kind of made our vaccination points. But it goes from Kyrie potential of not playing and playing to Washington State firing their head coach and 4 assistants for not living up to the vaccine mandates. The coach claimed that he initially had a religious exemption. It didn't come to pass. When they pressed him on it, he wouldn't say what it was. What are y'all's thoughts as former football players in the middle of a season to lose a coach over something like this? Maybe we don't get into the vaccination portion of it, but to lose a coach over something that was preventable and has been kind of dragging, for it to hit the fan in what is this, week 7? What are your thoughts?
Man, look, I tell you like this. It depends on which coach it is. Because if it's just like the assistant D-line or cornerbacks coach and people fuck with you, but it's like, there's like whatever. But if it's like the head dog or if it's like your position coach that recruited you to go there or that's going to like help with your playing time, like you highly affected. Like it's like, bro, I'm messed up because it's the same thing if like your coaching staff leaves but you're still at the university and a whole brand new coaching staff come in and then now they're getting other players from other schools and like now they're putting on top of you when you've been there putting work in the game, and now it's like, damn. So I think, if it's the appropriate coach that's taken away from the team for whatever reason, it's gonna highly affect you. So imagine if y'all or the team is winning, and then your coach get fired along with your position coach and like other coaches that like you kind of played for, but it made showing up to practice and playing the games like you wanted to do it, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, like, man, that can really affect the outcome of your season. It can affect your personal, whether you do good or not. Because the biggest thing is like Sean, no, like it's like matter of fact, Coach Dixon, like everybody liked Coach Dixon because he's an outgoing coach, and on top of that, his what like he's done up until the point where he's coaching Ohio now, it's like it speaks volumes. So if he was ever leave or when I was playing there, if something happened to him, then it'd be like, damn, like you can't focus because the main man that put you in that position or that kind of help encourage you through tough times ain't there. And then again, it's like sometimes you might have a coach where whether they white or black, like you really mess with them, or if it's a color or if it's a coach that look like you, and now they take him away. Now you got a whole bunch of coaches on staff that don't get you. Now it's like, damn, I feel alienated. Now I really can't be myself because if I am, now they're gonna think I'm too aggressive or it's an awkward conversation. So like that plays a really, 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 really big role in like a young student athlete's production as a player and as a student. That's
And just for the sake of conversation, you lose your head coach, you lose your defensive tackles coach, you lose your assistant head coach who coached cornerbacks and was also a recruiting coordinator, and you lose your co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach and O-line coach.
It's a wrap.
The whole team is decimated.
It's a wrap. I'll tell you. My bad, Sean. My bad. One thing. Things like if you lose all those key positions, like bro, it's gonna affect you. Like remember, those are kids still, and a lot of those guys they look at like father figures. So imagine your father, hyped you up, and the next thing you know, he ain't there. Now it's like, damn, I can still get the job done, but in the back of your mind, it's like, damn, if they get rid of him, imagine how they gonna feel about me. You know what I'm saying? My bad, Shaw. I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
Nah, it's all good. Like, yeah, exactly everything that CG said, like that's so real. And not only do I think it's gonna affect that school for the next until that recruiting class, all them guys that they recruited get out of there, that's how long the effects is gonna last. Because like he said, you got this guy, the recruiting coordinator especially. So this guy is showing up to these kids' houses and sitting down with these parents and telling them, hey, I'm going to take care of your son for the next 4 to 5 years, and now that person is now suddenly gone. And so what happens is they hire the new person, and the new person might got totally different views on who to recruit than the one before him. So now, the new person is trying to get his guys in there and putting his guys in position to succeed because that's how he's going to succeed.
Right.
It's a whole thing. Like I had, like when I was at Ohio, I had the coach that recruited me. He left after my first year. We got a new coach in there. Man, loved him, great guy. He left after a year and a half, and then somebody else comes in there. So like you got to adjust to each coach too, because if you playing receiver, one coach might want you to run your routes like this, and get a new coach in there, he wants you to run it like this. So constantly got to make that adjustment at 18, 19, 20 years old. That's tough, especially in the middle of the season. Man, I think you can see a lot of people in the transfer portal from Washington State here. So very,
and that's what kind of my thoughts about it were with the NIL rights. You almost might have messed up some money for these kids, depending on who had what deals in the works, what local car dealerships. You know how it is in small college towns. It's not that big, but money coming into athletes is money coming into athletes. And now if we've made this deal with you as the local Ford dealership or Toyota or whoever, right? And now you're not the same player because they're not calling the same plays. They're not calling the same schemes. Maybe the players around you aren't as motivated to perform as well because you just blew this up in the middle of the year. Right. Your numbers dip. If it's a 1-year contract, which you would have to think in a college setting, you would be signing kids year to year just to give some flexibility in the way you spend the money and what maybe they decide to do if they do decide to transfer. Well, if a contract is signed, then we might have to nix it because you no longer play here.
Wait, on that, so I tell you this: a lot of people don't realize a 4-year scholarship isn't 4 years, bro. You literally got to sign every year. You got to sign. They don't, but they don't tell you that. Every year you gotta it's basically rearing up. I gotta rip every year. So if they don't like what you're doing, or if you're or if you're a cancer to the team, they can literally void your contract and send your ass back home. And the thing about it's so funny because me and Shaw seen this shit. Like, some dude is really good, but he don't he don't go to class, or he just some kind of disruption. If he's a really good player, they'll find a way to keep you. But if you one of those average, like you good, but it's like we can get on without you. Next thing you know, homeboy name thing on his locker. You're like, damn, where he back at the crib.
Never hear from him again. He'd be like, damn, man, I wonder what Cuz doing.
Facts, bro.
Like he said, like if you good, you will get away. You'll get away with it. But if you, we probably should have got that other kid we was recruiting. Why we like? You're gonna be gone quick. Like,
bye.
In school, we had 22 people in our signing class. We graduated. It was 6 of us. And that's how it goes. And you can look through every class, always like, and they'll do all. And if they don't just void your contract, they'll do everything in their power to make you not want to come back.
For real, though. For real. It's one of those things where if we can't get you out by, us basically, by paperwork, well, we're going to make your life live in hell. Matter of fact, the coach going to talk to you crazy. Go ahead, respond back. Now that's the reason why we're not going to play you, because you're not mentally strong. So it's so many different games that can be played, and it's just a loophole to get the guys you want on the field. Or it's like, something? Hey, y'all, he's like, every time he goes to his back pedal, it's not quick enough. So then he gets quick with his back pedal. Now it's like, well, when you come up with a run, you're not keeping outside contained. It's always going to be something. And like, they're looking for him to be like, to blow up and be like, something, I'm tired of this shit. But the thing about it is like, and I don't want to put it to myself, but at every level, I've been challenged, and not so much more physically because, I am what I am. But at like the same point, I've had coaches. Matter of fact, I don't know if I should say his name or not, but I'm not gonna say him because he's still coaching. But I'm not gonna. I ain't gonna name drop. But I remember my freshman year, and this is the year that I was a freshman All-American. My very first game, coach came up to me, and I can curse. He came up to me and was like, and this was like maybe like the second quarter.
Especially if you're quoting what somebody else said.
That's true. But all right, but like quote unquote, the coach told me, he was like, "You better not get in there and fuck up, or I'll send your ass home." The same dude that was hyping me up, building my confidence, and one of the biggest games, my first game, he say that as I'm about to go in the game, I'm saying to myself like, it's one of those like, what the hell? Like, I don't know how to take it. So my thing is like, yo, you here for a reason? Let's go. So my thing is like, when a coach would do something like that to kind of put me in a situation to where I like the possibility of me being successful was low, and I basically took that bologna and turned that shit into like steak or filet mignon. It's like, okay, all right, now we fuck with you because you're mentally tough, and on top of that, we wanted this dude to play. And matter of fact, Shaw, he'd tell you, it was guys that was, quote unquote, bigger than me, or whatever may be the case. But guess who's a starter? I wonder why. Because at the same time, a lot of guys had the physical attributes, but just the mental, they just couldn't hang. But, that's, and just to kind of go back to what we're talking about, coaches will do stuff in spite of, or just to see where they can basically push you. Because when you're in a game, it's fourth quarter, and we got man on man, and it's zero blitz, and we counting on Shaw to lock up their best receiver. We brought you here for this. We even mess with you mentally to get you prepared to lock in a situation. If he come out and he stopped their receiver, now it's like, see, all the stuff we did, it came to fruition.
We turned you into this. We built you for this.
Right. So it's like, yeah, so now they're kind of trying to take credit for it. But if he mess up and get his ass out of there, see,
we knew you wasn't ready. I told you to be ready, and you still wasn't ready.
So it's like, but that's just how it is. Like, you got some really good players that mentally ain't tough like they are physically. So, because
like he probably learned it earlier than me. Like CG known me for a long time. Like he know I'm a little hothead for real. So I don't care who you is. Like you not about to just be talking to me any type of way, especially not over and over and over again. So like he got a situation where he kind of let that go. But in my situation, man, I remember vividly. And anybody that was there tell you, like, I had a coach that he just kept picking at me, man. It was just all day, like over the course of a whole practice. And then, man, I snapped, man. I said, man, stop, stop talking to me, man. Like, leave me alone. All types of stuff. And shoot, that put me. I was in the doghouse for real. And the climb up out of that was crazy. That's the little stuff that they do, man. Is little games. And yeah, if you don't learn it early, it'll affect you and it'll set you back. Like, yeah, it's real, man. These games.
Well, kind of like to piggyback off of that a little bit, and I'm gonna keep it short. Especially like my freshman All-American season when I was killing shit, and it was at a point where I had gotten into an argument with my position coach at the time, and it was one of those things where it's like, he was like, we don't need you. All this stuff, like, we'll find somebody else. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. So then I left, went down the locker room, everything. And I never forget, Cheeto with Culture. Cheeto's acting now. He came down there himself, was like, bro, hey man, like, we know you know what he doing. So just, come back to the room. And me being young, like, man, I don't need this, bro. I'm an All-American. I don't need none of this, bro. But his thing was like, bro, we know that. We know what you can do. You know what you can do. Mentally tap in. And from then it's like, it was cool. And another insert was when I was playing professional football. Bro, I was a 4th string behind dudes that wasn't better than me. And when I got up there, I had to learn a whole new game. And up there, like they saying stuff like, oh, you ain't go to Ohio State. Like just like little stuff to try to get me in. I'd never respond. And like, they would try to make it harder for me because like they loved the dude that was in a position. So it's like, I just stuck to the grind and made sure I knew the reason why I was there, So my thing is like, whenever they called upon me, anytime I was called upon, I balled out. So it's like, okay, well, do this, do it. And it's like, damn, like he's always prepared. And honestly, like, bro, like that goes back into the whole Ben Simmons situation to where like you gotta learn how to mature and understand the situation. It's bigger than what you're doing because at the end of the day, if you don't, they'll eventually they'll get your ass up out of there, and then you're gonna be looking back and like, damn, I wish I would have did this way. It's like, but as a grown man, you don't ever want to have that regret. I wish I would have. But us being human, we all gonna have one or two things where like, damn, I wish I would have went back to this. But that's what it is, bro.
Right. And I think, just to come off of this topic the way we went into it and see where it went, you know what I mean? That's what's real. That's the reality. That's the benefit of talking with people who have lived it, who have walked. Because for people sitting at home, it's real easy to say, well, here's what I would do. Or here's this, here's that. So, y'all's input on situations like that is exactly why this podcast needs to be a thing. And for this to be the first episode, I think we're off to a really good start. We got a few minutes left. I'm going to throw a curveball in here. Nothing crazy. It's just a curveball in the fact that we did not discuss it. But in talking about college football, one thing came to mind, and that is the Jackson State Tigers with Mr. Deion Sanders, also known as Coach Prime.
Coach Prime, yeah.
Bringing exposure to HBCU football in a way that it has never seen. You have Eddie George also coaching. I believe at Tennessee State. Don't give me the line, but I believe he's at Tennessee State. Looking at some of the things, if you guys are privy to him, he's partnered with Michael Strahan to get suits for the team for travel. He's advocated with Under Armour to get new uniforms, names on the back of the jersey, fresh equipment, while also while also coaching two of his sons on the team and hoping to raise money for new facilities for not only the football team, but also the other sports. As we know, a rising tide can raise all boats. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something we need more of? And if so, what would you potentially like to see given the experiences y'all have had?
I think it's beautiful, bro. Like, seriously. I think I would have went to an HBCU instead of going to, all white school, Ohio, whatever.
PWI. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just one of those things where at the time when I was young, even like going to like Howard, Hampton games and all that stuff, like it was like the atmosphere is just like a family reunion type thing. It's nothing but black people. So it's a good feeling. Only reason why I didn't go because the level of play wasn't where I think I was supposed to be at. And granted, now it's way better. And what I feel like what some of the NFL greats are doing, the black players that's coming back and giving back, but like that's, in the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of these Oklahomas, Miamis, Louisville, Stanfords, all those schools, like it's going to start to dwindle to where people are going to go to homegrown schools because they're starting to see that the level of play is getting better. Facilities are getting better. And that's how you recruit. Like, you don't recruit, hey, come play for me. I'm Coach Prime. It's like he's leaving footprints to where it's almost impossible not to root for him. And on top of that, it's almost impossible for the other schools to get on track. So now it's like what Coach Prime is doing, like, bro, like he's basically tapping into a whole nother stream that people kind of looked at or like looked over, like, man, I don't want to watch that game. But now it's like, now you tune in because you want to see what all the hooping and the hooping holler is about.
And the games are nationally televised. I mean, you want ESPN. You have the ability to watch these games without having to log in and get on the stream. And there's one little dude up there with a camera going back and forth like this.
Right.
Some intern, some GA somewhere is up there, in the nosebleeds trying to miss the play, miss the ball. I mean, it's really big time football in the way that it's presented.
Right.
Like, man, like I love it, man. And what another thing that he's doing is Coach Prime, he is not afraid to go get the best guy in the state and bring him to Jackson State. So a lot of times throughout the recruiting process, I know for myself, I was looking at going to an HBCU. I was looking at Howard, the Norfolk States, the A&Ts, the Hamptons, all of that. But once I started getting the bigger offers, they slid theirs off the table because they automatically assume that if you're that type of caliber of player, you're not even looking at their schools.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with the facilities that are available at those institutions. Like, I worked at Howard for a year, and it made me appreciate what I had at Ohio so much because I saw the difference in what we had and what those kids had available to them. And I think what Coach Prime is doing is he's giving that exposure, which is getting money pumped into the schools. So if we think about it, back in the day, before Alabama, the best team in Alabama was Southern University. That's an all-black school. Alcorn State.
Southern's in Louisiana, just not as a G check or nothing, but
area. Before those schools integrated, those was the teams. Think about
Alabama A&M's.
Think about how many NFL players came from HBCUs. The Ducks,
Max,
Steve McNair's, those
Jerry Rice,
Shannon Sharp,
Mississippi Valley. Like, those is all HBCU schools before integration. So if it could get back to that, like, it's going to be a slow process. But if the ESPN top 300. A couple of those guys wind up here. ESPN don't care what schools is playing. They want to watch the talent.
They want the eyeballs.
They want the talent. So if we got talent at these black schools, it's I'm telling you, automatically money's gonna get pumped. Like you're signing TV deals. So if the TV deal with ESPN for $50 million and they split that money throughout the conference, imagine what type of things are going to come to these camps. I think that Eddie George, them dudes is trailblazers. They deserve to be saluted.
And one thing to add, I think a lot of people who may not know football real well or may not have grown up playing football, basketball, some sports the way that maybe we did, where it's cool to be about your game, be on your game, still do your thing, and look good while you do it. A lot of people in Deion's playing days were maybe distracted by the mouthpiece, maybe distracted by it must be the money, the MC Hammer, the gold, the high. I think to some people, they could have seen him less for his athletic ability and more for the shenanigans. But then this is the only man to ever play in a World Series and the Super Bowl. And to show that if you want to call it an experiment or what have you, is working in his second season at the school. Last season was played earlier in the year due to the pandemic. They are 3-0 in the conference and 5-1 overall. So, it's not just the name. It's not just the shine. The man is recruiting players, coaching damn good ball players, and so far so good, they are playing good ball. So we covered the amount of topics we wanted to cover. We right at the 111 mark. Got a few minutes to go, man. Is there anything you want to touch on? Anything y'all want to say? Maybe anything we left out?
Sure.
Man, nothing much, man. I just want to say thank you. You guys, great conversation. Look forward to doing it again. Yeah.
Same thing with me. Like this is something I wanted to do a while back, but it's fun to get this stuff off your chest and to see what other people or other pairs that I respect their point of views. Not saying I don't respect a lot of people, but Tone, I respect you. You already know that. Shaw, you already know it's all love. Always been that way. But just to sit down as black men and to have a conversation and have an intelligent conversation, like bro, like this is something that needs to happen, especially for me. Like this is like therapy because I get to talk, and again, I'm not always right, and both of y'all brought up some points where I'm like, damn, I didn't look at it like that. So y'all are helping me navigate through life essentially. I know it may sound weird and funny, but when you respect people and like you listen to them talk, it's like, okay, that's all. Like, and I'm happy to be a part of this, and I know that this is going to take off. We just got to do our work. That's it.
Yeah.
Speak into existence. That's all. Speak it into existence.
And not even to let the folks too far in behind the curtain, because I feel like I'm just gonna keep this raw. You know what I'm saying? The whole piece and everything with the post production and all that. We didn't have a script. None of this was written down. Like we literally just took topics and worked through them in a certain amount of time and had reasonable conversations about them. And this is the second time we've done this. And the first time was on Instagram Live.
Right.
So I think to approach it with an open format and to have a good idea, we see stuff, we read stuff everywhere, all the time, every day. We, kind of digest all these opinions that help us form our own. And to be able to discuss them in a way where you can't just get out here and say anything because it's your face, it's your name, you want it. Like this ain't keyboard warrior, Twitter fingers turn to trigger fingers, So I couldn't be more happy, man. I'm really glad, CG, man. It's your baby, you know what I mean? It's your idea. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I look forward to the next one we can do it and just doing more, man. So, from the Off the Top podcast, I'm Tone.
Your boy CG.
It's Shaw.
Hey, we catch you on the next one.